After the Season 5 premiere of Harley Quinn brought Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy to Metropolis, these past 2 episodes have us learning the backstory of Poison Ivy and how she got her powers, while introducing us to the new character Jason Woodrue, the villain known as Floronic Man. Jason Woodrue was given an interesting backstory in these episodes, and one that ties him directly to the backstory of Poison Ivy. But the character has a wild history in the DC universe that, despite their shared plant theme, didn't initially involve Poison Ivy. My name is Tony Bones, welcome back to Cartoon Universe, and let's dive into it. Episode 2 was titled Back to School, which makes a lot of sense, considering it deals with Poison Ivy having to work with her old college professor and ex-lover, Jason Woodrue. During her time as a student, Ivy made a groundbreaking discovery, the ability to create sentient plant life, which led to the birth of her beloved Frank. But when she shared her findings with Woodrue, Jason planned to steal her work and claim all the credit, because he apparently needed grant money. But Ivy refused to give him Frank, which led to a confrontation. Woodrue tried to take the sentient plant by force, leading to a chaotic struggle that toppled test tubes and released a toxic green gas in the lab. In a desperate move, Woodrue trapped Ivy inside and left her for dead. But Ivy injected herself with an experimental serum, merging her DNA with plant life to survive. And just like that, she became the iconic Poison Ivy we all know and love today. Tying Frank into Ivy's origin was a brilliant touch. It added a depth to the relationship in a way that I didn't realize we needed. While Frank is often seen as her goofy sidekick, this episode highlights how she's always treated him like a person, not just a plant or pet. The episode ends on a satisfying note, as Ivy gets her revenge on Woodrue, reminding us that even with all her recent growth, at the end of the day, she's still a badass supervillain. But the episode doesn't end there. In the final moments, it was revealed that Jason Woodrue is still alive. We see his now monstrous plant-like hand emerging from the toxins Ivy left him in, setting up the next episode. Fast forward to this week, and Woodrue is back, this time as the horrifying Floronic Man. He's an abomination, hell-bent on revenge against Ivy for turning him into a monster. For this, he accesses the Green, an interconnected force representing all plant life on Earth. This allows him to attack Ivy when she's meditating in this metaphysical space. Harley discovers Ivy unconscious, being tortured within the Green, and enlists Frank's help to save her. While Frank dives into the Green to rescue Ivy, Harley searches the botany lab for Woodrue's physical body. As Ivy and Frank face certain doom at the hands of Floronic Man, Harley tracks down his body and uses a buzzsaw to take him out, literally turning Ivy's twisted X into a pile of firewood. Now for the more casual viewers, Jason Woodrue is likely remembered for his part in Batman and Robin, the 1997 film by Joel Schumacher. Here he was a caricature of a mad scientist, creating other well-known villains like Bane, and performing experiments on Pamela Isley that would eventually turn her into Poison Ivy. This leads to her using her newfound powers of poison to kill Woodrue, without him ever even turning into Floronic Man in this world. Interestingly, however, Floronic Man, or rather Jason Woodrue, actually predates Poison Ivy in the original DC comic books by about 4 years, and they were originally developed with unrelated origins despite their shared plant theme. Created by Gardner Fox and Gil Kane, Jason Woodrue debuted in issue 1 of the 1962 comic The Atom. Originally presented as an exile from a plant-based dimension called Floria, Woodrue's character has always been steeped in themes of nature and science gone awry. Initially portrayed as a quirky human scientist villain battling Ray Palmer's The Atom, Woodrue grew more complex over the years. He would appear in a few comic books after The Atom, mostly being a generic villain, but things took a turn during Alan Moore's legendary run with The Saga of the Swamp Thing. The story redefined the character of Jason Woodrue, turning him from a generic bad guy to someone who desires to preserve nature by eliminating humans. In this saga, Woodrue starts as a normal human but merges with the Green and gets his plant powers. This causes him to descend into madness, believing plants should rule the earth. This is interesting because it's the direction that Poison Ivy would eventually go with her own development. In her initial appearance in Batman issue 181 from 1966, Poison Ivy was introduced as a typical Gotham seductress, using her plant-based powers to get what she wants. But this would later change. One of the most significant developments in Ivy and Floronic's story would be from Neil Gaiman's Secret Origins number 36 from 1988. This series was an attempt by DC to construct a cohesive continuity, blending possible connections that could be added to characters' backstories, and in some cases just revising them. In this telling of Poison Ivy and Floronic Man, Pamela Isley was a botany student at a university where Woodrue, her professor, conducted experiments on her. He manipulated her into becoming a test subject for his experiments with plant toxins, ultimately transforming her into the eco-terrorist Poison Ivy. This version of Ivy's origin paints Woodrue as a cruel, self-serving figure exploiting Pamela's trust and fascination with botany for his own twisted scientific pursuits. The betrayal and subsequent transformation not only explains Ivy's distrust of humanity, but also establishes her deep connection to the green and her ability to manipulate plants. It also firmly positions Woodrue as the catalyst for her evolution into one of Gotham's most iconic villains. This Secret Origins comic was the basis for the later Batman and Robin film, and now season 5 of Harley Quinn. And it shows how this attempt by DC to really establish their continuity in the comics really resonated with fans and the artists who would later adapt it. But while Poison Ivy would go on to be more celebrated and popularized by this dynamic, Jason Woodrue, and especially his identity as the Floronic Man, would get much less attention. Here in the new episode, we get a similar story to Secret Origins in the 1997 Batman and Robin film, with Floronic Man really just existing as a satellite for Poison Ivy, and inspiration for her more finalized and important story. But it's unfortunate because there are more interesting angles to explore with Floronic Man, whether alone or working with Poison Ivy. A great example of this is Jason Woodrue's appearance in Batman Shadow the Bat from 1996. In issues 56 through 58, Woodrue's story was expanded on in the Leaves of Grass arc, written by Alan Grant. Here, Woodrue's story with the green is taken to new extremes. In the story, Woodrue engineers a hallucinogenic marijuana strain that he plans to distribute on a massive scale, not only to exploit humanity's dependence on plants, but also to enslave them mentally and physically to his will. To help him, Woodrue breaks Poison Ivy out of Arkham Asylum with the hope that she will aid him in his plan to distribute his mind-controlling weed. Woodrue believed that he and Ivy's connection to the green and hatred for humanity's environmental destruction would make them natural allies. However, Poison Ivy's motivations are far more nuanced. While she shares Woodrue's reverence for nature, she also harbors a deep-seated grudge against him due to his role in her transformation into Poison Ivy, established in Secret Origins, similar to what we got in Harley Quinn. Woodrue's manipulation and betrayal in her origin story left her distrustful of his intentions, making her reluctant to fully align with him. In this arc, Ivy's pride as a protector of nature conflicts with Woodrue's more aggressive and destructive methods. Realizing the dangerous implications of Woodrue's plan, not just for humanity, but for her own dominion over plants and the environment, Ivy decides to tip off Batman. Her choice is an act of preservation as much as it is a rare moment of collaboration with the Dark Knight. She uses her knowledge of Woodrue's plan to help Batman stop him, demonstrating her complex moral code. With the story taking place over just 2 episodes in the Harley Quinn series, we don't get the opportunity to see Ivy really align herself with someone she also has a big issue with. It was a fun story, and one that was adapted more recently in the Batman and Harley Quinn movie released in 2017, a real precursor to the Harley Quinn series after the explosion of popularity thanks to 2016's Suicide Squad. Here, there isn't the crazy angle of the marijuana plants, but the bones of the story are still the same, with it focusing on Floronic Man and Poison Ivy trying to convert the people of the world into plant hybrids. However, the most interesting take on Woodrue, in my opinion, was probably from the Swamp Thing TV series from 2019. This story aimed to get Woodrue back to his roots before his association with Poison Ivy, with an adaptation of the saga of the Swamp Thing comic books discussed before. In this adaptation, Woodrue is humanized by his desire to use the strange and toxic swamp to find a cure for his wife's illness. He is still morally compromised, but it's not the cartoony evil we see in the 97 Batman film, or the commentary on sexism that we get in Harley Quinn. While he's teased to later become Floronic Man, and perhaps have a deeper role in the greater Swamp Thing story, the show was unfortunately cancelled without a second season to follow up on this. So why do creators keep bringing him back? I think what creators find so fascinating in Woodrue is that he can represent either a cautionary tale in humanity's overreach into nature, or a manifestation of nature's revenge against humanity. His accessible villainy also allows him to fit seamlessly into a variety of storylines, from straightforward superhero conflicts to nuanced environmental parables. Woodrue's ties to the character like Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy also ensures his relevance where those characters are explored, making him an ideal antagonist, or supporting player in narratives that grapple with ecological themes, like this season of Harley Quinn. With Season 5 focusing more on Ivy's new job in Metropolis, it feels only natural to delve deeper into her backstory, including her past relationships and influences. Jason Woodrue, as an integral figure in Ivy's comic book origins and ecological motivations, serves as a logical and compelling choice to expand her story, even if it was only for a 2-episode arc. To some fans, it may be rather surprising that it took 5 seasons to explore Ivy's origin more thoroughly. However, the timing of it all might be deliberate. Reports suggest that James Mangold will direct the upcoming Swamp Thing film, with James Gunn and Peter Safran producing, signaling a high-profile effort to bring the character back into the DCU. Given the character's previous history with the Swamp Thing story, it's highly likely that Jason Woodrue will play a pivotal role. By reintroducing Woodrue and Harley Quinn, DC Studios might be priming its audiences for his eventual cinematic debut. This kind of cross-medium synergy has become increasingly common in franchise storytelling, allowing characters to build familiarity in one medium before transitioning them to another. If Woodrue does appear in the upcoming Swamp Thing film, his inclusion in Harley Quinn Season 5 could serve as a strategic first step in establishing his relevance within the DC universe. The timing of this decision also aligns with James Gunn and Peter Safran's broader plans for the DCU, as they aim to weave a cohesive narrative across film, television, and animation. This interconnected approach reinforces the idea that Harley Quinn is not just a standalone animated series anymore, but a potential soft launchpad for characters and stories that will play significant roles in future DC projects. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on this week's Harley Quinn episode in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.
Well, 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 if it isn't my arch rival, Racer Rabbit. Shady the Bat, you're here for the magic crystal as well?
Careful, Racer! He almost beat you last time.
I guess we'll have no choice but to battle till the very end, our hands all over each other. No homo. There is no homo that I fear. Well then, may the best homo win!
Wait, what did you say?